Imagine landing in the UK after a long flight. You're exhausted, slightly disoriented, but confident enough to rent a car. You adjust the seat, start the engine, pull out of the airport, and instantly your brain freezes. The steering wheel is on the opposite side. Cars are coming at you from what feels like the wrong direction. Every instinct you've built over years of driving suddenly feels useless. Yet strangely, no one else seems confused. Traffic is flowing. People are calm. No horns. No panic. That's when it hits you. The problem isn't the road, it's you. And that raises a disturbing question. If driving on the left feels so wrong to you, why does it feel perfectly normal to millions of people every single day? Who decided this? When? And why did the world never agree on one side in the first place? The answer takes us far back, long before cars, traffic lights, or even proper roads existed. Before we continue, don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more videos like this. Chapter 1. Before cars, before roads. Thousands of years ago, humans didn't travel on highways. They moved along narrow paths carved by footsteps, animals, and trade caravans. There were no written rules, only instincts shaped by survival. Most humans are right-handed. That single biological fact quietly influenced how people moved through the world. When two strangers approached each other on a narrow path, it felt safer to pass in a way that kept the dominant hand free. That way, if something went wrong, you could react instantly, whether to defend yourself, gesture, or grab hold of something. As horses became central to travel and warfare, this instinct became even more important. Swords were typically worn on the left hip, making it natural to mount a horse from the left side. Mounting from the right would mean tangling yourself in your own weapon. Over time, riders began keeping left not because they were told to, but because everything about their bodies and equipment encouraged it. No one announced this rule. It simply worked. And when something works for long enough, it stops feeling like a choice. Chapter 2. Swords, Fear, and Muscle Memory. Medieval travel was dangerous. Roads were poorly maintained, law enforcement was inconsistent, and encounters with strangers were unpredictable. Knights, soldiers, and ordinary travelers often carried weapons not as symbols, but as necessities. If you were riding on the left side of the road, your right hand, the hand most people trusted in a fight, was closest to anyone approaching you. That gave you an advantage. You could draw your weapon faster. You could defend yourself more easily. You felt safer. Over generations, this behavior stopped being a conscious decision and became muscle memory. Even as societies became safer and weapons less common, the habit remained. By the Middle Ages, traveling on the left side of the road was deeply embedded across much of Europe. At this point, left-side travel wasn't tradition or culture. It was instinct passed down quietly from one generation to the next. Chapter 3. The day wagons changed everything. Then commerce exploded. Trade routes expanded, cities grew, and goods began moving in bulk. Horses were no longer enough. Massive wagons took over. These wagons were heavy, slow, and difficult to control. In many regions, drivers didn't sit inside them. Instead, they sat on the left rear horse so they could hold the whip in their right hand. From that position, it became much easier to judge distance if wagons stayed to the right side of the road. Without realizing it, entire regions began drifting away from left-side travel. Not because they wanted to be different, but because wagons demanded it. And that's how the split began, not with disagreement, but with practicality. Chapter 4. When habits became law. As roads became busier, governments stepped in. Informal habits turned into written laws. In Britain, left-side travel was officially enforced in the 18th century. Once laws were written, change became expensive. Roads, bridges, signs, and training systems were all built around a single assumption: everyone would keep left. Driving direction stopped being a personal habit and became infrastructure. And infrastructure, once built, is incredibly stubborn. Chapter 5. Empires don't just export power. When the British Empire expanded, it didn't just export language and governance, it exported systems. Colonies adopted British road rules because that's how the infrastructure was designed. By the time countries like India, Australia, Kenya, and South Africa gained independence, switching sides would have meant rebuilding everything from scratch. So they didn't. The road direction stayed. History had already poured concrete. Chapter 6. Napoleon, Pride, and the Right Side. On the other side of Europe, Napoleon Bonaparte was standardizing right-side travel across his territories, partly for military efficiency, partly because it symbolically rejected British norms. As Napoleon's influence spread, so did right-side driving. Later, the United States, keen to distance itself from Britain, embraced the same system. By the time automobiles arrived, the world was already divided. Cars didn't create the split. They inherited it. Chapter 7. Japan's Quiet Exception. Japan presents a fascinating twist. It was never colonized by Britain, yet it drives on the left. The reason lies in railways. When Japan modernized in the 19th century, British engineers built its rail systems. Trains ran on the left. Roads followed the logic of the rails. Once again, infrastructure decided the future. Chapter 8. Why we never fixed it. At some point, you might wonder why the world never standardized. The answer is simple. Switching sides is one of the most dangerous changes a country can make. In 1967, Sweden switched from left to right. It took years of preparation, massive public campaigns, and even then, accidents spiked. Now imagine doing that globally. The cost, the confusion, the risk. It's simply not worth it. Chapter 9. Which side is better? There's really no clear winner between left and right. What matters is sticking to the same rules. When everyone's on the same page, our brains adapt quickly, predicting movement almost without thinking. Drivers in left-side countries don't even think twice about which side to stay on. And it's the same for right-side drivers. Switch things up, though, and accidents are way more likely. Especially if you're in a place where your instincts don't match the local norms. Humans are super adaptable, and what feels strange at first can become second nature, like a rhythm your body just gets. The whole left versus right debate pales in comparison to how we adapt and follow the invisible rules of the road. It's wild how little differences can shape habits that millions follow without a second thought. Conclusion: every drive is a time machine. Every time you drive, you're following rules shaped by swords, horses, empires, and human instinct. The side of the road you use wasn't chosen by science or logic, it was chosen by history. And history doesn't like to be rewritten. The next time you're on the road, remember this. You're not just driving to a destination. You're moving through a decision made centuries ago. If this changed how you see everyday life, like, share, and subscribe for more history hiding in plain sight.